Joe Hopkins here, and today I just wanted to talk about taxes. I don't talk about heady stuff like that, big deal issues, but this one has been kind of bugging me, right? We've gotten really used to paying taxes over the years, right? We don't question it. I usually didn't. The government needs to collect taxes. We need to support our lifestyle as in general, right? We have to pay for things, services that are provided to us by governments. The government does need income, right? We need to pay for things like our military, and Social Security is actually a pretty good idea. Before that, people didn't have a lot of people that had no retirement, right? There is at least something waiting for you, we hope, when you get older. And there are a lot of things like law enforcement, fire department, schools, right? We pay federal taxes, we pay state taxes. We're paying our way because we do benefit from that, right? And if you do fall on really hard times, there is some kind of assistance, that sort of thing, But it seems to me like it's getting harder to get by these days. I'm not the only one that feels that way. Now, wages have gone up. Mine have by a good bit since COVID. But it seems like my money just isn't going as far. Like, I make more and I have to work more overtime to make ends meet, right? I make probably about 27% more on a regular paycheck without overtime, just my base pay, than I used to before COVID. But before COVID, I could just get by on that if I had to. Now, I can't. I need the overtime. Need it. At least some. Or I can't make ends meet. I'm not the only one in this boat. So a lot of people starting to get a little bit upset and questioning this, right? Well, let's go over the taxes. What taxes do you pay? Well, out of my paycheck, I pay federal and state income tax. Some states don't take income tax. There are a handful of them, but most of them take some kind of income tax. I live in West Virginia, where it's not that bad. I feel bad for the people I know that live in Maryland and Pennsylvania and Virginia and places that take out a lot more taxes. You know what I mean? But okay, so I'm paying my taxes, right? The government can run. I'm paying my federal tax, I'm paying my state tax. So, okay, that's supposed to pay for things. Then why is it that the state can't keep up the roads? Why is it that the police have to write so many tickets in order to fund themselves? Why is it my volunteer fire department down the road here is constantly trying to raise money just to keep their doors open? Aren't my taxes supposed to pay for that kind of thing? Why is it that they're constantly having bake sales and boosters at the school to help fund the athletic department and the music department? And aren't my taxes supposed to pay for this? And in some places, I know quite a few people that live in parts of Pennsylvania where you pay an extra school tax and where there's a couple taxes extra just for this and that. It's like, isn't that what's coming out of my paycheck? You're taking more than a third of what I make. Aren't these things getting paid? Okay, so starting to wonder that. And then my money's been taxed. I take that money, I go out and I buy things. And there's sales tax. You're taxing my money again for me to buy something. You already taxed it. Now you're going to tax it again. That's state by state. And states have different sales taxes, right? I live in West Virginia, but I'm near Maryland. So, Maryland doesn't tax most grocery items on sales tax. I do my grocery shopping there. They might have a real low sales tax on it now, but West Virginia has sales tax on everything, So, I'll go to wherever something's cheaper. Gasoline's cheaper in West Virginia than it is in Maryland, because Maryland taxes the hell out of their gasoline. But sometimes it's the other way around. So, I don't know. Either either way, I'm paying, and there you go. They tax the hell out of gasoline. So part of that, those high gas prices, part of that's the tax. So I'm paying taxes on my income, and I'm paying taxes on that income again when I buy stuff. And then we have property tax. There you go. I bought a house, and you pay tax when you buy the house. And then every year you pay a property tax. But what I'm finding to be kind of weird is the property taxes go up as the value of the home goes up. Well, okay, but I haven't seen that increase in income. I don't have that increased money. I bought the house not as an investment, which if I had invested my money, they wouldn't tax it until I cash that investment out because I haven't realized the profit. But they'll tax my house commensurate to its market value, or what some guy in an office in the state capitol decides its market value is. They'll tax it based on that, even though I didn't pay that for the house. And this isn't an investment. I live in this house. I might make money on it someday if I sell it and move, but that's not really my plan. I live here. And I've seen a lot of people get taxed out of areas. It happens in cities. It's happened in Baltimore, where a lot of people who paid, X amount for their house, and then the value goes up and the taxes go up with the value. And now they can't afford to live in the house that they bought because it went up in value. I think that's kind of messed up. I understand property taxes, but it's really wrong that you can end up taking my house because my neighborhood improved. You know what I mean? It wasn't as nice a neighborhood. Now it's a nice neighborhood. It got gentrified. Now you can take my house because I can't afford to live in this neighborhood anymore. That's really kind of wrong. And a lot of times, a lot of people in those situations don't have the money to move so that they can sell their house and see the profit, or they'd make out maybe. But moving costs money that you don't have because you paid your property taxes, that kind of thing. And I'm running into that. My property taxes go up. Well, the value of my house went up. Well, I'm not selling the house. Why don't you tax the house based on what I paid for it? Right? Or my car. You buy a car, you pay to register it. Okay, I get a license plate, it's registered. I get that. Why do I have to pay to register it every year or two? I bought the car. I registered the car. I shouldn't have to re-register it every year. I'm paying. There's a lot of money. A lot of my income goes to the governments, and it doesn't really seem to be providing as much as it should. You know what I mean? I work for a state government agency, and I've seen where the state, I live in West Virginia, I work in Maryland, and I've watched as Maryland has increased their taxes and increased their taxes and increased their taxes. My pay hasn't gone up as much as they've increased the taxes. So, that money isn't flowing into my pocket. My pay has gone up, but not as much as to equal how much more they're taking out in taxes in the last 5 years or so. Why? They're not paying your state employees. Maryland is in a budget deficit as much as they've raised the taxes. Why? Where's that money going? And I got to thinking that, you know what? I'm not against rich people. I'm not against the ability to make money and to move up in the world, right? But we have people now that have gone past rich into so stupidly rich that a handful of people have way too much of the money. And I think that's why the taxes go up, because, a smaller percentage of that money is making it to people like me who pay taxes than it used to. If you look at over the last 40 to 50 years, the difference between the guy that runs the company, his pay, and the guy that works for him, right? The standard worker, his pay. And it used to be like there was this much of a gap, and that gap has grown and grown and grown, which means that the guy at the top who doesn't pay even close to the taxes that the rest of us do, percentage-wise, right? His money, rich people have a million ways to avoid taxes. So you're taking a percentage, a significant percentage of the money that's in circulation and putting it in a place where it's not getting taxed. We used to get a higher percentage of that, us that go to, our job and pay our taxes. And a smaller percentage of it is making it into the area where taxes are getting paid on it. Maybe that's a problem. People talk about how unfair a certain amount of the wealth in this country is. The fact that so much of it is held by so few people. But it really also, we're in a position where we're not funding our government less. There's just too much of the money is in a place where it's not getting taxed. Because those guys at the top aren't paying income taxes the way we pay. They're not paying taxes the way we pay taxes. They'll claim they pay a lot of taxes, and they do. They pay way more tax, way more money in taxes than I do, but they have way, way more money than I do. The percentage they're paying is less than me, if you get what I mean. I think maybe we've taken too much of the income out of the hands of people that pay taxes and go to stores and spend it in normal ways and recirculate it and put it in the hands of people that aren't doing those things. This money doesn't go back into the economy in the same way. Their money is sitting in investment accounts. It's being invested in the stock market. It's going into places where it's sitting there and making them more money, which is good. I got nothing against if you do get ahead, if you get to the point where you have enough money that your money can make you money instead of you having to go out and make money. Good for you. But there's too much of it that's in that situation. Too much of it is sitting there, and the amount of the money that's being pulled out of circulation, it's getting worse. More and more of it is going from the hands of people that recirculate it into the hands of people that don't. This happened before. I hear a lot of people talk about the gold standard, right? You hear the people, we need to go back on the gold standard. No, we don't. This is what happened back then, because when everything's based on gold and there's only so much gold, then you can't print more money that isn't backed by that gold. Only a handful of people have the gold and there isn't anything circulating. That's how things like the Depression happen. That's how serious economic problems can happen. And that's how you end up with a situation where nobody has any money, because none of it's circulating. A handful of people had all of the money. That's why we went off the gold standard. And now we have to find another thing to do, because the same thing is happening where a handful of people have control over too high a percentage of the wealth of this nation. And it means that less of that wealth is making it to us. And yes, I make more money than I did, but that money has less spending power than it did. I still haven't improved any as far as my actual wealth goes. You know what I mean? My paycheck is a bigger number, but it's not worth any more than it was. And that's really a problem. There's less to go around for everybody else. And we're paying... There's less going to the government. Where is the government going to get its tax revenue, right? Because a government does need money to run. It just does, period. And it seems like people didn't mind paying taxes as much when you had enough. But now there isn't. It doesn't feel like there's enough. It really doesn't. And I'm saying this as somebody I'm doing okay in life, right? I'm doing all right. But the income I make now... 20 years ago, I'd have been rich if I'd have been making that. And now, well, I'm doing okay. I'm keeping my head above water. These are some things we need to think about. Maybe we need to change the way we're taxed, and maybe the government should start pointing its fingers, trying to get the money out of the people that have all of it, right? And what can I say, man? That's what I think. I thought I'd share it with you guys. And I hope it does, give some food for thought. I do think we're taxed too much. Of course, if you overtax the rich, what are they going to do? They're going to move somewhere else. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe they won't. More of this money needs to go back into our pockets, because we'll circulate it. We'll spend it. And that's good for the economy. That's good for, tax revenue. So it's my thoughts on it. I'll see you all in the next video. I love you guys. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.